Hi, I'm Talissa.
And I'm Rachel, and this is Transatlantic Crime, a true crime podcast that covers stories from each side of the pond. Every week, we will both cover a separate story with a running theme.
Disclaimer, this podcast will contain swearing and details that some people may find offensive. If you are of a sensitive disposition, listener discretion is advised. Welcome to
Transatlantic Crime.
So close. Hi, Rach.
Hi, Talissa. Happy weekend.
Like, fuck for that, honestly. Like, this week can suck my dick, work can suck my dick, everything can just form an orderly queue to suck my dick this week.
Yeah, I just want to hide under a blanket and watch movies. That's all I want to do.
Yeah, and I'd really like to do that. But also I hate my house because I've just been in it for so long. So it's like, got a bit of a love-hate relationship at the moment with the sofa. Yeah, but anyway, we can always cheer ourselves up with some nice stalking, can't we?
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't have COVID and I haven't been injured in a protest, so my 2020 is acceptable.
Yeah. I mean, also my friend Sarah, I was just constantly whinging about how stressed I was yesterday. And my friend Sarah sent me some essential oils through the post, like with a little note that said, "This is to help you relax. Love you, Sarah." I was just like,
aww.
Oh God, it's
That's
so
nice.
Just adorable.
Good friends.
And Carly also got me a record, a Joni Mitchell record. So, like, I'm actually really spoiled. Like, I don't know why I'm whinging. Things are good. I've got something to tell you as well. So, me and Vince were watching a really good program on Netflix called Who Killed Little Gregory?
Oh, okay.
And it's the most famous, like, child murder in France, basically. And, sorry, I'm just having a cider. Yeah, so we watch it in French with English subtitles. So I'm slowly creeping in murder there. We were watching it and some guy was like, oh, in French was like, oh, I hope he gets a death penalty or something. And I was like, what? Did they have the death penalty in France? Like, and Vince was like, yeah, I think they had it till like 1985 or something.
Really?
Yeah, which is silly late. Like, yeah. England got rid of it in like 1963, I think.
Well, we still have it, so.
Yeah, you fucking love it. I said, what was like the method of execution? And I said, don't tell me guillotine. And Vince went, no, don't be silly. Like, I think it's like electric chair or something. Googled it, guillotine.
Really?
Fucking guillotining people in 1985.
No way. Did you find out who was the last person to get guillotined or?
I did. And I think he did some sort of like war crime or something. Like it wasn't, yeah, but I looked through all the reasons and most of the people were child murderers. Mm-hmm. Or like double murderers. So I think if you murder a kid in France, they wanted to guillotine the shit out of you. Yeah, they had a brief break in the middle for firing squad and then went straight back to the guillotine. Like the guillotine must have been broken those years.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. Like how brutal is that?
Yeah, that's so like medieval.
I know that obviously killing someone in general is quite savage. Just because they're strapped down for a lethal injection doesn't necessarily make it all fucking dandy. Still cutting the fucking head off. Like
I know. Where does that even take place? Obviously it doesn't take place in the town square anymore.
Yeah, like yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like in an execution chamber? Like yeah. And my dad as well, I spoke about it with my dad and he said, yeah, apparently they have a coffin, like I don't know if this is true, I'll Google it, but he said they have a coffin right by it and they just chuck the body immediately in the coffin and then immediately throw the head in because it's like spurting blood everywhere. How bad?
That's just sounds messy.
It sounds made up, that bit, but that's my dad, not me. But I will Google it, or someone can Google it now as they're listening and let us know. But yeah.
That's crazy. I was going to say, like, to be fair, in America, I think there's still states where it's like, the normal method of the death sentence is getting injected with something.
Yeah.
But I think some states still do like a firing squad, or you can have the option to do that, or very recently they took it off the table, but there's still some weird methods that people can still do in the States.
So the gas chamber is pretty savage as well.
Yeah.
That always goes wrong though, apparently.
You know, I sent you pictures while we were on our road trip and we went to the Wyoming State Penitentiary.
Yeah.
We just stood outside it, but you could tour it. We didn't end up touring it.
Oh, why not, mate?
Just
Will didn't want it.
I think Will would have been open to it, but it was in the middle of like a 13-hour drive day, and we were like, let's just get this over with.
Can we break this up with a wholesome
Yeah.
prison tour?
We also had Tito, our dog, with us, so I don't know if we could bring him in.
Party pooper.
But it had a gas chamber in there that they used, and you could go and sit in it if you wanted to.
I'm all right, thanks.
Yeah. Like, who's going to sit in that?
I hope they cleaned it.
No, I'm. They just didn't.
Like residual fucking dying chemicals. But yeah, I just wanted to let you know my little bit of crime news this week. French people were cutting heads off. They don't muck around, do they?
Yeah. I've been watching a documentary as well. It's very good. I'll Be Gone in the Dark.
Oh my god, have they made it into a documentary now?
Yeah.
Because it was a book, right? And I've listened to the audiobook,
Yeah.
but I didn't realise it was a programme.
It just came out a couple of weeks ago, and I think there's only
Oh,
3 episodes up right now.
that sounds so good.
It's really good. The first I've only watched I've watched 1.5 episodes because halfway through the second episode, Will was like, I can't watch this anymore. It's making me sad.
I know, it's such an issue.
Yeah. And it's funny because in it, so, you know, Michelle McNamara is the writer of All Be Gone in the Dark. She's married to Patton Oswalt. And they kind of go through their relationship and how they met. And he's in the documentary.
Aww.
And he has a stand-up routine where
He's a
what?
comedian.
Oh yeah, he was like first a comedian before he did anything else.
Wow.
So, but he has this stand-up routine in the 90s where he's like, "Yeah, I'm in love. I'm dating this girl. She's really into true crime. You know, usually I walk into her house and she's watching like case files or whatever, and they're talking about the some murderer, and it's just like he just talks about like what our significant others go through with us.
Oh, I might have to point Vince his way.
Yeah, but it's also really sweet though because he says like it's really exciting to watch someone who's really excited about something and gets really into
Oh,
it. It's sad, but it's sweet.
their love was so pure.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, so I definitely want to watch that, but HBO stuff's hard to get here, but I will try.
Maybe it'll come over at some point, some
Oh, I'll
channel.
find it. I'll find it like a raccoon going through garbage. Um, okay, so this week is Stalkers.
Yes, let's get into
Who
it.
who's going first? I think it's me because I did Princess Diana last week, right?
Yes, you're right. It's
Yeah.
you. Yes.
Also on the Princess Diana thing, I had somebody, my friend Jess, was saying how like he was like, you know what, you shouldn't slag off Camilla. She's just a woman who was in love and stuff. I was like, I knew I'd get some Team Camillas fucking messaging me.
Yes, did you interrogate them? Like what's your deal?
Her deal is it's none of our business. If she wants to go out with a guy and like, but she also admires her for like not kicking off or saying anything racist or just being like a normal member of the royal family where they just do fucked up stuff and get away with
Whatever.
it. No, I know. I said, look, I just love Diana and that's how it is. So we agreed to disagree, but it's
Very
fine.
civil.
Yeah, and I love her to death, Jess. So we just moved on for the sake of our relationship. So this week I am going to do a case that is really famous because it changed some stalking laws, I think, in England, or at least it sort of made people more aware of like the dangers of stalking. Because I think, as we said in the episode with the was it Michael Weaver who went on a rampage? Oh no, not Michael Weaver, Kevin Weaver. He was stalking his girlfriend and they didn't take it seriously, and then he tried to kill her. And I think that
Right.
happens in like a vast majority of stalking cases. So this one kind of brought it to the forefront that the police didn't really help. Okay, so let's get into it. So
Yes.
Alice was the third of 4 Ruggles children. That sounds so cute. And she grew up with her sister and brothers in the quiet Leicestershire town of Tur Langton. The family was a close-knit one, and Alice always managed to make her presence known, whether by her jokes, her mischievous pranks, or later by the endless banter on the family WhatsApp group. That just sounds like me. Um, for her senior years at school, Alice chose to attend Leicester High School for Girls, where her mother Sue worked. Making friends was second nature to her, and she was really popular and successful there. So she went to Newcastle for university, and then she stayed there after graduating. She'd basically just fallen in love with the city. And then after a while, she secured a job at media giant Sky's Newcastle hub. So you probably know Sky TV. It's like Rupert Murdoch owns it, basically.
Yeah. This is
Um,
starting to sound a little bit familiar.
yeah,
How recent
yeah,
is it?
fairly recent, like
Okay.
2016.
Okay.
So she was quickly promoted to become site coordinator and PA to the head of sales. So she was doing really well. And then early in 2016, she was 24 and she began a brief relationship with 26-year-old Triman Dillon, but he just went by the name Harry Dillon. He was a soldier and he was serving with two Scots based at Pennycuick, south of Edinburgh. Alice had been introduced to him online by a mutual friend while he was serving in a non-combat role in Afghanistan, and they met in January, spending a happy week together in Newcastle and another in Edinburgh before he returned to Afghanistan for his final 2 month tour of duty. He initially charmed her with his attentive and caring behaviour, but this soon changed. Know that story, sister. Um, After he came back to the UK in April, her friends and colleagues noticed that she had become withdrawn and distracted and was losing weight. She also stopped socialising. She fell out with her housemates and then moved to a ground floor flat in Gateshead shared with her work colleague Maxine. During this time, Dylan had started being critical of her appearance and of the way she lived her life, and of her friends and of her family members, so that she steadily became more isolated, which is absolutely classic.
Yeah.
Um, he had also taken control of her Facebook account by changing the password.
No.
Like, if somebody did that to you, you would just be like, well, to be honest, when I was in my very early 20s, I would have let that shit go because I would also do crazy shit like that, maybe.
Yeah, I think I had just at that time just low self-esteem, so I would have just been like, "Oh, if that's the way that this has to be, then that's,
If
you
this is
know."
how it is to have a boyfriend, then I guess that's how it is.
Yeah.
Mate, I'm only laughing because it just rings so horribly true.
You know. You know.
Oh, oh yeah, yeah, big time. So so she's fallen out with all her housemates, and she's moved to a new flat with her work colleague Maxine. During their brief relationship, Bess had always thought that Dylan had looked out for her, but the reality was that he had been trying to manipulate her as well as her friends and family. He made negative comments about her personal appearance to undermine her confidence. He stoked up minor disagreements between her friends and persuaded her that she was better off without them.
Hmm.
She sent messages to her mother telling her what a horrible person her daughter was.
What?
I mean, if my mum received that text, she would go out and stab him before he got the chance to stab me. When you're in that kind of relationship and they sometimes like you just want the arguing to stop as well.
This just seems like it got worse and worse, and even the people in her life didn't really. I feel like messaging your mom is the last straw, unless
Oh
your
my
mom
god.
is like not a supportive person of you and like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's either, I guess it might go either one or two ways. Like, her mum will either go, what the fuck are you doing?
Right.
Don't message me. Or, oh, it's just young arguments. Like, don't be
Yeah.
silly. Like, if he's in
Right.
a position to have her mum's number, then. And
Yeah.
plus, they said he was manipulative. So maybe he's nice, 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 horrible.
Yeah,
So,
he coded it with whatever.
yeah, yeah, just like slipped it in, basically.
Was he much older than her as well?
So she was 24 and he was 26.
Oh,
So,
okay.
no, like, not really.
Yeah.
That's always a red flag, isn't it? All the time, he emphasised to Alice herself how much he cared about her and would look after her. In a few short months, Alice had lost all her self confidence and she had no friends left. So she'd gone from happy, outgoing, and a vibrant person to somebody miserable and lonely. Her work was adversely affected. Her family noticed how withdrawn and unhappy Alice was during a family holiday to a cottage in Cornwall in July, although Dylan would later describe it as perfect.
Yeah,
So,
that's because you've got her completely under control.
yeah, perfect for you.
Yeah.
Also, like that's in the January and then in the July, that's 7 months in, and they're going on a family holiday together.
Hmm.
I kind of think that's quite fast. But when you're younger, I think you just do stuff like that, don't you? Like, can I bring my boyfriend? Like,
Yeah.
around this time, Alice was contacted by another woman whom Dylan had befriended on a dating website. At this, Alice ended the relationship, no longer being able to trust him. In fact, all the while Dylan had been demanding her total loyalty, he had been cheating on her, contacting other women, and engaging in casual sex with them.
That's all she needed
Yeah.
to get out of that. Like, she was just looking for something to give her a reason to leave.
And in her defense, she doesn't take him back, which a lot of people would do. And
Right.
like I have in the past as well. So
Yeah.
again, just due to the rock bottom confidence.
Right.
Dylan was not prepared to take no for an answer. In the ensuing weeks, he bombarded Alice with phone calls, voice messages, texts, and emails. Some were pleading and others were aggressive and threatening. He also contacted her family and friends. In one message, he stated he was not used to being denied what belonged to him.
Okay.
I mean, everyone just block him. Everyone.
I'm already like, I've just dismissed this guy from the get-go.
Well, yeah.
Also, I read, this is because of you as well, on Reddit. I'm part
Go
of
on.
the relationship advice group. And there's so many times, like especially lately.
Because of COVID, do you think?
Probably. Yeah, there are a lot of people who are like, yeah, I've been staying
Forced
with
to
my
live
boyfriend
together
for however
Yeah.
long. But yeah, like lately there's been a lot of, he tells me what to do, he treats me this way, he tells me what to wear, etc., etc. And it's like, you already know what the comments are gonna say. You know,
Yeah.
they're just gonna be like, leave him, this is not healthy, this is toxic, this is borderline abusive,
But
etc.,
if you're asking, I kind of feel like you really don't know that, and you
Yeah.
might just be in denial. Like,
I wish I had read it when I was 22 because I would have done that and I would not
know.
have known. I would have been like, is this normal?
oh my god, and the most annoying thing is, it doesn't matter what anyone would have told me at
Yeah,
like back then, I wouldn't have fucking listened.
right.
It's only when it gets so bad that you have to break up with them, and then you have time to reflect and look back and go, actually, no, that was fucked. But it's
Yeah.
it's only hindsight. No one can tell you. You're like, oh, you're just trying to destroy my life. You don't want me to be, or like, no,
Right.
he's not that bad. Like, I just
Yeah.
wrote that when I was in a mood, and now I don't feel like that anymore. It's like, well,
Right, exactly.
it still happened.
Yeah,
So
he was nice to me, so it's
10
back to
minutes.
normal now and everything's fine.
he bought me some flowers and said sorry. So basically, we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once she split up from him and started to take control again, she began to return to her old self. And this was the point where Harry Dillon's coercive control turned to stalking. So, during August and September, Alice received a torrent of messages from Dillon, texts, emails, and voicemails from several different phones. In some, he professed his undying love. In others, he used emotional blackmail, crying down the phone and threatening to kill himself. And in others, he was menacing. He threatened to release compromising photos that he had secretly taken of her. That's also like an offence. You can definitely go, like in the UK, there's definitely revenge porn laws now.
Right. Do you think because of this?
I'm not sure because of this. I mean, it became, that was really, really recent, and it became like a ridiculously large problem at one point.
Right.
So there was like a campaign to stop it. And also, only just recently has upskirting become illegal in England, which is where you probably know what it is, but where you put a camera up someone's skirt without them knowing and take a photo.
Right. That was like a thing too that creepy guys would do in the malls around America.
Fucking men.
I know.
Like, I mean, hashtag not all men, but still.
Right.
You would not catch a woman upskirting a man. You would not, it just wouldn't happen. Like,
It's just stupid.
it's just fucking pointless. I can't imagine any of the pictures were any decent. Like, they're just getting off on the invasion of your privacy.
Yeah, I think it's the whole act of it too. You're secretly doing something that someone
Yeah.
doesn't know that you're doing, and you're getting a glimpse of something, and
just the lack of consent is what's turning you on, and that's just fucking gross.
Right.
So Dylan at this point had become obsessed with Alice. At first she tried her best to be pleasant to him, as it was not in her nature to be mean, but he simply abused that in his attempts to get her back. Okay, don't be pleasant to anybody.
Fuck politeness.
Yeah, fuck politeness. Very hard. When she began to ignore his messages, he contacted some of her family members and friends, trying to get them to influence her. He'd also hacked into her social media, and it became clear that he was reading all of her messages so that he knew who she was speaking to and where she was.
What a creep.
At this point, I don't know if I would just delete my Facebook. I think I could go without it. From now on, people can only text me to find out where I am.
Get a new number.
Yeah.
Give it out to the people that you trust. That's it.
Yeah. But then when you're young, your phone and your friends are like your lifeline. Like, you don't want to give that
Yeah.
up for
Right.
anything. I see why she didn't. I'm probably just out of like thinking it wasn't a big deal that he'd go away eventually.
Yeah.
So at the beginning of September, he found out that Alice had started a new relationship with a guy called Mike, who was also an army officer, and he set out to destroy it by contacting Mike, painting a false picture of her and saying that Alice was cheating on him.
What?
If some psycho ex like contacted you,
I'd
I know what you
just be
probably.
like, get a life, dude. Like, move on.
Look, I'm not being harsh, Dylan, but you need to get a life. Goodbye, sir.
Yeah.
On the 30th September, Dylan repeatedly rang Alice's doorbell and then hid when she looked through the spy hole to see who was there. She was concerned that it was him, so she didn't answer the door, and I would be calling the fucking police at that point. Later that same night, he climbed the fence into the back garden and knocked on Alice's ground floor window as she lay in bed. When she opened the curtains, she saw flowers and chocolates on the windowsill and Dylan backing off.
What?
Ugh.
I really want to know the psychology of this guy too. How did he
It's like
become like this?
well, yeah, I mean, like what you mean, like his family history and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, he's ticking the box of like ex-servicemen at the moment,
Right.
isn't he?
Yeah.
On the old serial killer bingo.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, we have serial killer bingo cards. We really need to get on.
We haven't
Um,
talked about that yet,
that was a
but
little teaser,
yeah.
everybody. So that night, as he drove back to Edinburgh, he left her a chilling phone message. He kept repeating that he didn't want to kill her and he wouldn't kill her.
Oh, thanks.
Well, now that's put to bed.
Yeah.
Fuck me. So at this point, she contacted the police, who were very sympathetic and reassured her that he could be stopped. As is evident from the recording of the phone call, she was calm and polite and almost apologetic. And I've heard the phone call, and she is like, "Hi, sorry to bother you. I don't know if this is even like, I don't know if I can even ring you for this, but
Aw.
yeah, she sounds so sweet." The officer explained that she could go to a solicitor and take out an injunction, which costs money, like,
Yeah.
or that the police could issue a police information notice in speech marks, which means if he ever comes near you again or contacts you again, he'll be arrested. So which would you prefer? To which Alice can be heard replying, "Can I try that option, please?" They categorised the incident as harassment and issued a police information notice so that they had a record of the event. So 7 days later, Alice contacted the police again to report that he was still contacting her. The response this time was less sympathetic and no action was taken. Alice was distraught as she now believed that nothing could or would be done to stop the stalking. Alice believed herself to be protected and had regained her old self-confidence, when actually a pin carries no legal weight. So
Mm.
I don't know why they said that to her.
Yeah.
I think it's literally just a recording of the incident.
Right.
There's no legal obligation like attached to it. Whoever was on the phone to her like shouldn't have said that to her.
It's not like a restraining order, which it sounds
No,
like maybe she thought that's what it sounds similar to that.
but it really does, like the way they made it sound.
Right.
Meanwhile, the police warning was communicated to Dylan in his barracks by his army supervisors on the 3rd of October. Colleagues, friends, and even a general practitioner had also told him not to contact Alice. Despite all of this, he immediately sent her a parcel containing a letter and some other items. The letter complained that she had called the police on him, and he was now facing the repercussions, including that they had taken away his laptop, iPad, and iPhone, which was a lie. They hadn't done that at all. And he went on, "I'm in a lot of shit now, but I hope you feel happy now. I'm sending you everything I have that reminds me of you, as you belong to another man, wishing you two a happy life. I will never come into your life again."
Great. That's all she
Good.
wanted.
Also, like, just the most dramatic. Like, I remember when I was like, me and an ex-boyfriend called Mental Dave had the most dramatic relationship in the world. And he would always text me, I will never cross your doorway again. Like, I will never speak to you again. Always did.
I know. I've been there
They,
too.
they always do. On the 7th of October, Alice received the parcel and rang the police again to report it. This time, she was made to feel that arresting Dylan was not a possible option and that she was wasting police time.
What?
Yeah, there's no recording of this phone call.
There probably is.
Yeah, exactly. All of a sudden, Alice realised she was not being protected at all, so she tried to make sure she was driven home to the front door each day by a colleague and immediately double-locked it. On the 10th of October, unbeknown to Alice, Dylan drove down to her house after dark, climbed into her back garden and photographed the rear window. And then on the 12th of October, Dylan drove down again from Edinburgh and parked near to Alice's flat, waiting for her to return home. While waiting, he was messaging another woman trying to arrange a meeting later that evening, back up in Scotland. Around 6 p.m, Dylan climbed in again over the back wall and this time forced his way in through a window. He picked up a sharp knife and he cornered Alice in the bathroom. Then 20 minutes later, she was lying dead there and her flatmate Maxine had returned and found her.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll get into exactly what he did a little bit later.
Okay.
So the 12th of October 2016, sorry, this is how it happened. So 12th of October 2016, Paul Lynch is Alice's colleague that gave her a lift home, and she arrived just after 5. So they have CCTV of Paul dropping her off and her leaving the car. So this is proof that Paul didn't do anything, as he was the last person to see her alive.
Mm-hmm.
And this was at 17:31. Her flatmate left work and arrived at the flat by 6:20. She had to climb through a window because she couldn't get through the door because it was locked. If you ask me, this window seems fucking flimsy. Yeah, I would get that covered. When she entered the flat, she saw Alice on the bathroom floor covered in blood and called 999. And then she was pronounced dead and the police revealed that she had had her throat slit.
Mm.
So in the early hours of the next day, the police went to arrest Dylan at his barracks. When they got to him, he was calm and compliant, and he appeared completely calm when they charged him with the murder of Alice Ruggles. See, this reminds me of like the OJ case, because you know when they say to him like Nicole's dead, he doesn't ask how, he doesn't break down crying, he doesn't say like what the fuck happened, like he's just like, okay. You would ask immediately what happened.
Right.
It could be
If you
it could
didn't
be a
do
car
it,
crash.
you'd be like, what is going on?
It could be a car crash, and then they arrest you for her murder. You'd be like, oh my god, what are you doing? I didn't do anything.
Right.
At least try like and deny it.
Yeah.
So they took swabs of his DNA and they wouldn't let him wash his hands. They put a plastic bag over his hands, which is pretty funny, and is a really good way of keeping the evidence.
Yeah.
So when he was arrested, he had a scratch down the right side of his face and neck. And you see them in the programme that I watched, and they're so deep. They couldn't be from anything other than nails, I don't think.
Mm.
This is Dylan's version of events. He said that he drove down just to speak to Alice. He knocked on her window. He said that she came out the back and he tried to hug her. Apparently, she said, I don't want to see you. This is what he said, which is just totally fucking made up.
Right.
I don't want to see you. People like you end up killing their girlfriend, and I don't want to die. I want to live. Like,
Okay,
that's what,
sure.
that's what he said she said.
Right.
She's not like a shit amateur thespian. She's a normal person who wouldn't
Like a
speak like that.
rehearsed speech.
Yeah.
Also, even if she did say that, you shouldn't be there, dude.
We told you already to leave her the fuck alone. Yeah. He said, people who have been going out should at least have a hug. I want to hug you. And apparently she said, okay. She had a phone in her hand and she said that she would call 999. He said when she hugged him, she grabbed his hair with her right hand and there was a struggle, as in like she tried to grab his hair really hard.
Sure.
Yeah, again, I've never heard such fucking tripe. And then he tried to grab her phone off her, but he couldn't. This puts him at the scene, and then it also explains the scratches on his face. He's basically
saying
trying.
that she instigated it.
He's not saying he killed her. He's basically just saying like he left after that.
Oh, okay.
So they had like a little scuffle, and that's why he's got scratches on his face. The police need evidence, and they don't have a weapon. They don't have Alice's phone, and they don't have any bloodstains on Harry's clothes. So the police test a wristband that he's wearing, and they find a tiny spot of blood on it. They reassess the CCTV and they see Dylan's car parked in the street nearby, watching Alice go into her house. So she's been home for 14 minutes when Dylan drives towards the house, and she sends her last text to a friend, and then 15 minutes later, the CCTV sees Dylan's car leaving. So he's there for such a short amount of time. And then the police saw Alice's phone had pinged on masts in the direction that Dylan was heading away in. This proves that he had taken Alice's phone when he left. So they caught him out on that lie.
Mm-hmm.
And then in his next interview, when they confronted him with all this evidence, he said no comment. So basically at the beginning, he was absolutely singing like a canary. And then me and Carly were watching it going, what the fuck is his solicitor doing? His solicitor should be going, nope, don't say any of that. Stop talking.
Shut up right now.
Stop making up shit that didn't happen that they can literally prove that you're lying for. But yeah, then he obviously had a chat with him and was like, seriously, mate, no comment. So that's what he did in the next interview. The DNA from the wristband came back with blood on it. And they also feel at this time that they have enough evidence to charge him. So they charge him with murder. He goes to court and he's completely unemotional. But They say in the story that I'm reading, he also exhibited breathtaking arrogance. In
Sounds like
Alice's
it.
Yeah. In Alice's case, the court also heard how a restraining order had been taken out against Dylan by an ex-girlfriend in Kent 3 years earlier. This
Wow.
was this was because after she had split up with him, he tracked her down and spat in her face in the street. Lovely.
If he already had a restraining order against him previously, and then a new
Yeah,
woman is like, hey, this guy won't leave me alone,
yeah.
they shouldn't make her feel like she's
But you
wasting
should
their time.
absolutely fucking not. Like maybe no one even bothered to like run his name through the system. Also, there's a new law in England that you can now call the police and ask if somebody has previous domestic abuse charges.
Oh.
I think with a restraining order, that could just be like for your ex-husband because you fucking hate them and you don't get on.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not necessarily because they've done something criminal.
Right.
So maybe that's why like it didn't come up.
Yeah.
But also I think this is in Kent and then it's Northumbria police that they call
Okay.
the next time. So that's why. So at the time of Alice's phone calls, the Northumbria police had no knowledge about the earlier restraining order. If they had, they might have acted differently. So Dylan denied murder and he tried to argue that Alice had attacked him, but the jury rejected this and he was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum tariff of 22 years. Yeah, the judge's sentencing remarks addressed to Dylan at the end of the trial provide a grueling description of what happened that night on the 30th September. You went to her flat. She was alone that night, and what you did will have terrified her. You knocked on the door on 3 separate occasions, each time slipping away, and then you climbed over the wall into the rear yard and knocked on a bedroom window as Miss Ruggles lay on her bed. She looked out of the window to see you backing off, having left flowers and chocolates. As might be expected, she was shaken and scared by the incident. You then left her a voicemail telling her repeatedly that you did not intend to kill her. You were harassing her, you were stalking her, you were destroying her. Alice didn't realise the very real danger she was in, nor was this recognised by the family, friends, or police. This is what's changed. So, when warned by the police, around 50% of stalkers will immediately stop the behaviour, but the ones that don't can be extremely dangerous. Encouragingly, lessons are being learned as a result of Alice's case. Many police forces have been working hard to implement procedural changes and update training for frontline officers, and most have stopped using pins, so the police notice thing that actually meant nothing.
Right.
There's also been an action in Parliament to strengthen the legal protection for victims of stalking, with the 2019 Stalking Protection Act bringing in stalking protection orders that should provide an effective tool for the police to use in order to help manage the risk from the moment a victim presents themselves. The campaign for a serial perpetrator register continues. And
Wow.
that's the story of Alice Ruggles.
That's a really frustrating story.
Yeah, it's really fucking annoying, isn't it? Also, like, I just know, like, obviously I'm not victim blaming, but she just seems so nice.
Yeah. But like so many women are, like we're conditioned to be nice. And then even when we're asking for help, we think that it's a waste of someone's time. So we're like,
Yeah,
oh, only if you can do it, then
yeah.
I would appreciate it. But if you can't, then that's fine too. It's like,
Yeah, like, no, it's
that's
not fine. Some
right.
fucking mentalist is knocking on my window at night.
Yeah. I was on Reddit again and I was I was reading this story about a girl who was basically in the same situation and she was asking for advice about something, but she said, and this is what I'm telling everyone that they should do.
Really?
She had her boyfriend, she broke up with him, he started stalking her, he wouldn't leave her alone, he would like stand outside her work and leave notes on her car and leave flowers on her doorstep and
Ugh,
send her nasty emails and stuff. And
fuck
the
off.
police, yeah, and the police basically said, I don't know what state it was in or what area it was in the world, but the police told her that they couldn't do anything about it until he did something illegal. So he
Yeah, but it's
wasn't,
like,
yeah.
oh, what? So you want him to assault me? Like,
Right. You like, okay, I guess I have to just wait for that to happen. So she
oh,
basically, actually, I think it was in America, but I don't know what state it was in. She said she went to self defense classes. She
amazing.
got a conceal and carry, did
I
all
mean,
that
that's how you
stuff.
do it.
Yeah. She put alarms in her home. And then she said, I didn't have that much money after I did all this. And I really wanted to get like a trained guard dog.
Nice.
Yeah, so she said, I didn't have the money to do that, so I just went to an animal rescue and I got the meanest, biggest dog that I could find.
Can I have your most
And
aggressive dog?
and that's what I'm telling everyone to do is like, if you can't do anything else, get the meanest dog that you can find, borrow it for a while. But
Yeah.
she said that even though he looked really mean and he was huge, he was the nicest teddy bear dog to everyone. So she was like,
Oh.
if anything happened, the least he would do is just scare the guy away if anything happened.
Yeah, I mean,
But
dogs are fucking scary sometimes.
yeah. So she said one night her ex broke into her home. She was asleep. The dog started whining and she got up to see her ex standing there and
That's
she screamed. And the dog, noticing her distress, completely attacked the guy and just
yes.
tore him up. And she called the
Good.
cops and he was arrested. And she said that he had stuff in his car that indicated that he was going to basically kidnap her and kill her. So,
Shitting hell.
yeah, so the dog saved the day.
Oh, what
And
a great story.
I know. And well, it kind of ended weirdly because the advice she was asking for was she was really close to her brother and her brother's wife, and they had a 4-year-old daughter. And since that happened, the wife, so her sister-in-law, was like, I don't want your dog around my 4-year-old daughter because it snapped, and what if it does it again? And
Whatever.
I know. That's kind of the attitude that she had. She was like, I'm not going anywhere without this dog. I have PTSD. If you can't accept me with my dog, then you can't accept me.
Also,
But
you think I want to see your fucking boring 4-year-old? I don't fucking
well,
care.
she did. She did care, and that's why the advice she was asking for, because she was like, I love my 4-year-old niece. I see her like 3 times a week. What can I tell my sister-in-law so that she accepts this dog?
You can't see her if
And
you're dead. Like, because your
right.
fucking ex killed you. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
oh,
So,
it is a difficult one. Like, my brother's got a dog and it just bites everybody. Like, it's so horrible.
well,
Like,
I mean, that's a different situation, you know. And like a lot of the comments were saying your dog would, and she even said, like, this dog would protect that 4-year-old if its
yeah.
life depended on it. So the
Oh.
sister-in-law doesn't have anything to worry about. But I was kind of arguing about it with Will because he had gotten bitten by a big dog when he was like 4, and he was like, I would want my mom to say that because I was terrified of dogs after that, or big dogs at least.
Yeah,
So,
Vince was pretty scared. Vince got bitten as well when he was younger. I was like, my auntie Karen as well had a German Shepherd, and
okay.
she used to tie it up near the back door, and we'd be playing in the garden, and when we went to run in, it would be like, "Rah, rah," like really
Yeah.
scary. So like,
I
I
mean,
do
they're
get it, but
scary.
yeah, they are fucking scary. It was called Cindy as well, the dog. Had like the most fucking flamboyant name.
Cindy.
Yes, fucking horrible. I don't know what to say about that. I guess when like people have kids, they're really like I don't know because I haven't got kids, but when people have kids, they're super defensive, obviously.
Right. Right. You want to protect your child at all
Yeah,
costs. I totally get it. But I also get the other side where it's like, well, if you can't accept me with my guard dog, then you can't accept me.
her
Sorry.
her brother must be in a piece of shit situation. Like,
Yeah.
don't envy that guy. He's the real victim in all of
Yeah.
this. Your wife and your sister are like, protect me.
I know.
A nightmare.
Why won't you listen to me?
Yeah. Oh God, men just want an easy life, don't they? Jesus. Is it actually? I know the solution to that. Muzzle the dog.
I suppose, yeah.
Just muzzle the
That
dog
is a
when you're
good
with the kid.
solution. Right.
Yeah, yeah. You can let her know on Reddit.
This was like a week ago, so what if it's just like it's
Pipe
been
up.
done and dusted by everything and I just come in like a week later. Here's what I think you should do.
I don't know fucking what's it called, Reddit etiquette. Like, is it sort of like if you're not there at the time, then I don't want to hear about it.
I think so, like cuz it's kind of like if you're asking for advice there and then and a bunch of people weigh in, you've basically come to your conclusion like the next day,
Yeah. So
you
like, oh,
know?
thanks, fucking Lieutenant Too Late. Like,
Right.
Could have used this advice a week ago. Yeah, fair enough.
Right, 6 years later. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, now the dog's mauled the kid, the
Right.
sister-in-law, like they're divorced. Well, good luck to her.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay,
what
back
what's your
to
story
our
this week?
podcast.
Yes.
Get your bingo card ready because this one just
Cool.
you'll win. You'll win.
Okay.
You'll hit all the spots.
Oh, I can't wait.
If you don't know what we're talking about, check into our Patreon and
Yeah, we'll
sign
send
up
you a
and
bingo card.
yeah, you can play along. All right, so my story is about Bobby Joe Long. Do you
I
know about
recognize
him?
this name.
Yeah, he's just been done. He's been in podcasts, these documentaries.
Did he stalk a famous person?
No.
Okay, then I don't know who it is. Go for
Okay.
it.
He's a serial killer.
And a stalker?
Yeah, he stalked his victims.
Okay, go on then.
All right, let's get into it. So, Long was born October 14th, 1953 in Canova, West Virginia. He was severely teased as a child as he was overweight and he was born with an extra X chromosome, which made him grow breasts in puberty.
Oh, that is unfortunate.
Yeah. He also suffered a series of head injuries beginning at age 5 when he was
Bingo.
knocked unconscious in a fall from a swing. One bingo, several head injuries.
Okay.
Then a year later, he flew off his bicycle, crashing headfirst into a parked car, with injuries including loss of several teeth and a severe concussion.
Oh, God.
At age 7, he fell from a
Fucking
pony
hell,
onto
be
his
careful.
head. I know, if I was his mom, I'd be like, you're wearing a helmet.
Yeah, crash helmet.
Yeah, you would have been so teased, like you're already kind of overweight and growing breasts.
So,
and...
you were already there. Why not protect your
know.
fucking brain? Like all you've got now.
7 years old, he fell from a pony onto his head, remaining dizzy and nauseous for several weeks after the accident.
Ugh.
Later on, as a young adult, he crashed his motorcycle and shattered his helmet in the accident.
So, okay, so Fred West, you know, like of Fred and Rose West fame.
Yes.
Fred West had so many head injuries, including one on a motorbike. Another reason not to have a motorbike. I'm not into it.
Maybe, like, if you have more than 2 head injuries in your life, maybe register with a psychologist.
That should be the rule.
Yes.
The doctor should go, there's going to be some frontal lobe damage here. I really think we should just put him on some sort of list.
We're going to keep an eye on you.
Yeah.
Please come talk to us about any abnormal thoughts.
If you kind of start to feel like rage, like unreasonable rage, then just pop along.
If you don't know why you're doing a very violent thing, then come talk to us.
Oh, God.
All right. So Long is also the distant cousin of another serial killer, Henry Lee Lucas, who murdered a dozen people between 1960 and 1983.
Amazing documentary on Netflix about that as well.
About Henry Lee Lucas?
Called The Confession Killer.
He said
really
that
good documentary.
He murdered like 100 people, but that wasn't true.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Because they worked it out and he would have to be in like one end of the country and then 7 hours later be on the other end.
I would be so pissed off at that guy though. I'd be like, you're making us do all this extra work. That was probably his intention though. But
no, also they wanted to close some cold cases, so they heard that this guy was confessing and they travelled to see him and were like, do you recognise this woman? Do you recognise this woman? And he was just going, yeah, I'll have another cigar, thanks. Like they were just giving him coffee and like, you know, they were just giving him whatever he wanted.
Right.
So he had a really sweet deal, got to travel the country, talking to all these different police departments. And obviously he is a narcissist, so he wants attention. Mm-hmm. So it's just like a perfect storm for bullshit.
Yeah. Anyway,
Can't believe he's related to him.
Yeah, distant cousin. Long, okay, get your bingo card ready.
Oh.
Long also had a dysfunctional relationship with his mother, who shared his bed with him until he was a teenager.
Nope. Please don't do that. Nope.
She was also a single mother who would often bring men home from her job working at a bar.
Again, no.
I know. They lived in like a studio apartment. So I guess like
How about you can't have sex that night?
Right. How about just focus on your son? Like, I realize you're working at a bar and
Go back to
yeah,
theirs.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
another option.
Or fuck
All
in the
right.
toilet of the bar.
Right.
Come on. Think.
Do you have a car?
We've all been in a bind.
Another incident involved him spending the day at the beach with his mother. He almost drowned, and he blamed his mother for paying more attention to the men at the beach than of her own drowning son. So
He
this,
probably had a point.
yeah, resentment was building towards his mother and subsequently women in general.
Oh,
Once he got a girlfriend at 13, he stopped sharing the bed with his mother. However, his new girlfriend, who later became his wife, would often gang up on him with the help of his mother and manipulate him to do what they wanted. So he just had these two women who were just like, do what I want.
they say that you pick your mother or your father, don't they? To like go out with. Like
Yeah.
when you're trying to work out your issues, you pick them, and then you feel like if you're working out with them, it's like almost like you've working it out with your father or your mother. Bit of Freudian pun for you there.
I don't like thinking about that, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit. I don't think I do that now. Vince isn't like my dad at all. So yeah, but I think in the past I have chosen people who were emotionally unavailable, and then
Right.
I thought if I can make you love me, then that makes me worth something. And it's like no, that's just a recipe
Yeah.
for feeling like shit 24/7.
And it's not like you're being conscious about it's a subconscious thing.
You look back and go, that's what I was doing. I just
Right,
liked you because you
exactly.
didn't like me.
Right.
Yeah.
So he married his high school girlfriend, Cindy Brown, and the couple had two children. They divorced in 1980, but during their marriage, Cindy said that Long became increasingly violent and had a hypersexual drive, wanting sex at least twice a day. At one point,
Weird sex stuff is on the bingo card, isn't it?
yes, I believe so.
Yeah, tick.
At one point, he smashed her head into a TV. He would give a crying apology, but not before threatening her not to tell anyone what happened. So she basically had to go to the hospital and get stitches. And he apologized and he cried, but he was like, if you tell anyone about what really happened, then I'll kill you.
Absolute classic domestic abuse pattern
Yeah.
again.
Luckily, they got divorced. And she's in one of the documentaries that I watched. There's so many. Just Google his name on YouTube and you'll find so many different things.
Yeah.
In 1981, he began answering classified ads for small appliances. He would go and like buy or check out the appliance, and if he found the woman home alone, he would rape her. He
Ugh.
was caught. Yeah. This is on a show. Luther.
Luther. Okay.
Yeah, on the last season of Luther, that's what the guy does. He goes and he like buys a small fridge from a woman and she's alone, kidnaps her.
It's just classic. Like,
I know.
don't ever let anyone in your house. Like,
No.
get a big
Stand
dog.
outside.
Don't let anyone in. Carry a gun.
I know. I've been in that situation before too because in LA I rent equipment for like shoots and stuff,
Mm.
and you can rent them from like just random people who have them, and it's surprising to me when guys are like, "Oh, just come into my house." Like I'm
I'm
going to
okay.
do that. Yeah.
I'm okay, Buffalo Bill.
Right. It's like I dealt with one guy and he was like, yeah, just come into my house and I'll give it to you there and then drop it off at this random house of someone you don't know. And it's like, dude, are you an idiot? Like, I'm
No,
a woman.
they just think like men. They just
Yeah,
go, if some dude invites me into his house, I'll go in, and I'm not a murderer, so I don't care.
right.
It's just like I have to be careful. Like
Yeah.
always.
This specific guy was a dick. I don't know.
Again, like you might look like the nicest guy in the world, but I can't risk it. Like,
Yeah, exactly. When I went to like return it to him, he was like, "Oh, I can't meet you. Go to this random house, a completely different address, and drop it off there." So I was like, "Okay, I will do that." But so I called him when I was outside of the house. He wasn't answering. I was like, "I'm not going up to this door of
no.
someone who's like not even answering their phone. I don't even know if it's the right address." And he made me feel like later on, it was like an hour later, like no one came out. No one, like, he didn't answer his phone. And like, I was like, okay, I'm just leaving because it's 7 a.m. There's no one
Yeah.
around. And he messaged me like an hour later and he was like, oh, my friends were in the house. Why didn't you go and knock on the door? And I was like, I tried calling you. And he was like, well, my friend said you didn't even knock on the door. I was like, I'm not even going to explain to you. Like, it was
Oh,
just so,
God.
like, I don't know. And I maybe should have complained to the website about it, but it was just like, I don't want to deal with this guy ever again.
No, whatever. Let's just part ways. And you don't know, like, even if you complain to the website, they probably go, like, why are you worried? Just go to the door. Like, so you're like, do
I,
you know what? I can't be
yeah,
bothered with any of you.
exactly. And but that's what I'm saying, like that's the kind of thing that just happens all the time and you don't know if it's like a legit thing that you should have complained about because
Exactly. You're questioning yourself
right.
again. Like,
It's all my
yeah.
fault, you
Oh,
know.
so I'm the.
Yeah.
Oh,
So anyways, back to Bobby Joe Long. He would go to women's homes to buy something, and then if they were home alone, he would rape them. During the next 3 years, Long raped over 50 women in Fort Lauderdale, Ocala, Miami, and Dade County in Florida, and he earned the name the Classified Ad Rapist.
shit. I guess as well, like, you can't even say look out for this guy because you don't know what he looks like till he shows up. He could also, like, I don't know, like lie and say, I'm coming with my wife or something.
Yeah. You don't know until it's there, and
You can't, there's no warning.
right. And even back then, it's like he could have been charming at first and then been like, oh, do you mind if I use the bathroom before I leave? Or,
And how rude do
um,
you feel saying no to that? Like,
exactly.
you
Yeah,
feel so rude.
right. As a
Wait, again,
woman,
fuck politeness.
I know.
But you do.
Get a big dog.
Get a big dog, tell him you can piss outside while my dog watches you.
Yeah. By 1984, Long had moved to Tampa, Florida. There, even though he was on probation for assault, he drove his red Dodge Magnum up and down Nebraska Avenue as sex workers frequented the bars and clubs.
Just can't fucking help themselves. Not the sex workers. I mean murderers.
Right.
Yeah.
So he just basically started stalking all the sex workers and just watching them, and
Oh, they must be so used to it as well.
I
Like,
know.
they must just be like another fucking creep.
Right. And also who's listening to them,
Ugh,
you
yeah,
know?
it's like, well, don't stand out on the street then.
Right.
Like,
And a lot of the articles that I was reading was from the 80s. So a lot of them were like, these were prostitutes and they had just gotten out of jail for cocaine, or they had, the newspapers weren't blaming them, but they weren't
they weren't depicting them as people.
exactly. It's like, oh, they were drug addicts and they were sex workers and that's it, the end.
I saw this really fucking annoying headline this morning, and it was about a New Zealand rugby player, and he had assaulted his girlfriend. And it said, it was something like humiliating assault from this rugby player might ruin his career. Like, didn't mention her name, didn't.
It's like the Ted Kennedy thing.
Yeah, it's like, man rapes woman. That is the headline, not like it's
Right.
going to ruin their career. Yeah, well, rightly so.
Man ruins his career by committing rape. Meanwhile, the woman has to deal with PTSD for the rest of her life. Nothing is mentioned about that part.
No.
Let's get off our soapboxes.
We are so soapboxy today. Men, we've just slagged off men nonstop.
Yeah.
Hashtag not all men, but come on.
Yeah. And it's like, I was thinking, like, my story is from the 80s, but yours is from like 4 years ago. So it's not like things have changed.
Oh, I mean, literally, they're just fucking little boys who can't have their toys and just kick off because their mums fucking support them. Like, they think they can have what they want all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know. Testosterone has a lot to answer for, I feel.
Yeah. Definitely. And head injuries.
Yeah. Get that kid a helmet.
So he starts stalking women on Nebraska Avenue in Tampa. It was in Tampa that his crimes quickly escalated to murder. The first body found by police was that of 19-year-old Nguyen Thi Peggy Long. She was discovered in a field in southeast Tampa on May 13th, 1984. She was nude and had been strangled with a rope around her neck. Found next
Oh,
to her remains were red fibers, which became a key piece of evidence in subsequent murder investigations.
they must
I
have been
should,
tiny. I always think with fibre evidence, like, must be so small. A little piece of just a tiny little piece of fabric that came off your t-shirt or your shirt or whatever.
yeah, they do say how well the police from all the different counties and things, they worked really well together and they
Yeah,
put a lot of focus on this. And they also got the FBI involved.
good.
So this is one of the cases where the police were actually attempting to do a good job and putting care into it.
Police slammed.
I should also add that Hillsborough County, where he lived, it had been averaging about 30 to 35 homicides per year in the 80s. Then, in 1984, the murder rate escalated. During one 8-month period, a killer with a unique method of binding, raping, and killing his victims, then dumping them in unusual positions and poses, was averaging a murder every other week.
God.
So he just made the murder rate skyrocket, and that's why the cops were
Yeah.
like, all right, we need to
Yeah, put a
nip this
fucking
in the
stop to
bud.
this. Yeah,
Yeah.
jeez.
Finding the body of Nguyen began an intensive investigation into the abduction, rape, and murder of at least 10 women in 3 counties in the Tampa Bay area. Of Long's 10 known victims, 5 were identified as sex workers, 2 as exotic dancers, 1 was a factory worker, and 1 was a student, and another person worked in a hotel. They ranged from 18 to 28. They included Michelle Denise Sims, who was 22, and she had only been in the city for 2 days working as a sex worker before Long picked her up. Oh, she was also a former beauty contestant in California.
Oh,
Yeah. Also, all these women were just like so beautiful. It's really sad.
he obviously had a type, which is young and beautiful.
Yeah. Elizabeth Ludenbach, who was 22, she was a shy girl who worked on an assembly line in a factory and had gone for a walk from the mobile park where she lived, but she never returned. Her mother reported her missing.
Oh,
Chanel Devon Williams, who was 18, she was a sex worker who was the only known victim that had been shot by Long. Karen Beth Dinsfriend, she was 28. She was an addict and a sex worker. That's the only information I could get about her.
that's sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kimberly Kyle Hops, she was 22 years old. She was a sex worker and she was known as Sugar.
Cute.
Yeah. Virginia Lee Johnson, an 18-year-old sex worker who split her time between Connecticut and Florida. Kim Marie Swan, 21, a dancer at the Sly Fox Lounge in Tampa. Vicki Elliott, who was 21, who went missing as she walked to her midnight shift at a hotel.
So
that's
basically, anyone that he fancied the look of
yeah,
wasn't safe.
it's like he mainly stalked the sex workers who worked along the street, but if he just drove along and saw some girl by herself late at night, then he would attempt something.
Yeah.
This came out later, but after each murder, Long would go home and sleep deeply. He apparently claimed that when he awoke, the entire incident seemed more like a dream than reality. He would then go purchase a newspaper to read about it.
Well, it wasn't a dream. You fucking did it.
I know. So when he read the newspaper, he learned more about each of his victims. He came to hate these women, believing them as sluts and that they deserved to die anyway. He also did not want to stop what he was doing. So it's not like he was reading the paper and feeling any remorse. He was like justifying his behavior.
Oh no, like murderers love reading the paper, don't they? It's their little taste of fame. Like somebody cares about me, like I'm important.
Right. He like it said this, but then it also said later on he said, I don't know why I did this. So it's like he did try and justify his behavior, but there was maybe his like sane part was like, I don't know why I listened to that head injury part of myself.
Oh, God.
On November 3rd, 1984, at 2 a.m., 17-year-old Lisa McVeigh was biking home from the Krispy Kreme donut shop where she worked.
Oh, yeah.
This is kind of not too relevant, but hours before Lisa was abducted by Long, she was seriously committing suicide. She even had like her note written with her.
Oh, shit.
It's
That's
because
so, like, coincidental.
well, just wait.
Oh.
She wanted to commit suicide because her grandmother's boyfriend had been sexually and emotionally abusing her for years, and she just
Oh.
wanted a way out. So, as she biked home that night, she was grabbed by Long, who dragged her to his car, blindfolded her, took her to his home, and raped her over the course of a 26-hour period.
Mm.
During this time, Lisa would talk to Long to try to connect with him. Long took her to his bathroom and he washed her hair, which I think that indicated it was working, that she was connecting with him.
Yeah.
Lisa listened as Long talked about his hatred for women and acted sympathetic toward him. She offered to be his girlfriend. Lisa told him about her abuse and also told him a lie about how her father was sick and how she was his sole caretaker. Lisa also tried to leave as much evidence as she could for police to find. She went to the bathroom in Long's house and she touched everything she could to leave her fingerprints behind.
Oh my God, so clever.
Yeah. She recalled later, another 17-year-old girl probably wouldn't even have been able to handle it the way that I have, she said. I truly believe that all the abuse I'd been through in my life helped me get out of that situation.
Sadly, that is probably completely the case.
Yeah.
Like the abuse that he gave her, she's like, well, I'm fucking used to this, so
Right.
like if you think you're gonna scare me or like kill me or like it's
You're
not a
not going
shock
to
to her.
get the reaction that you
Yeah,
normally get from me.
yeah, exactly.
In the early morning hours of November 4th, so it's been like a full day, Long took Lisa out of his house. He drove to the ATM, and Lisa peeked from under her blindfold to see a motel on the way. And she also noticed the red carpet on the car floor, and she saw the
Mm,
words Magnum written on the car dashboard. So she was like looking for clues.
yeah.
She also said that she was on her period and she tried to leave like some of her blood on his car seat.
Hell yeah.
That's the only time I've ever heard where your period helps you in a situation.
Yeah. Unless you really think you're pregnant and then it turns out you're not. Then
Yeah.
you're like, hello. Yes.
That's every month for me,
Yeah.
Talissa. Okay, so he went to the ATM and then because he felt bad for her, Long let her go. He told her to keep the blindfold on as he drove off. So he just dropped her off wherever and
Wow.
yeah.
She must have been like, you fucking moron. Like as she had
Yeah.
the car leave. You are going down, motherfucker.
So Lisa went straight to the police and recounted that her attacker, she just went off on the police and gave them every piece of information that she could remember. She had a really
Yeah.
good memory. She described what he looked like. She described the car ride of when he dropped her off, talking about the carpet, talking about everything that she could remember, she told them. So the red carpet of his Dodge Magnum car was what caught investigators' attention. They later examined her clothing and found it contained the same red fibers as many of the murder victims.
Mm. Red isn't like a usual color for the bottom of a car either, is it?
It's really not. This is also in the bingo card where it's like
Oh
they have a
yeah.
stupid flashy car.
Yeah, stupidly recognizable car. Yep. Tick.
Don't drive a bright red car with bright red carpets inside.
They just like to be eccentric.
Yeah. They like to
Fool.
stand out for whatever reason.
Get yourself a
Approximately
Honda Civic.
Yeah. Approximately 30 officers, including the FBI, were assigned to a task force in finding Lisa's rapist. So they just sent these cops out and started interrogating people, like stopping people's cars. They knew they were looking for like a red Magnum car. So
Yeah.
they stopped Long driving his car, saying they were looking for a robbery suspect. They took a photo of him and they did a field interrogation. Then they let him go and began surveillance on him.
Okay.
I also read this, but I'm not sure. I tried to find more information on it. When they let him go, he knew that he was in trouble because he had let Lisa go, so he committed his last murder just in a frenzy. But I don't know
Ugh.
if I couldn't find any more information on that, so I don't know if it's completely true. Because they put him on surveillance, so how could he have done that?
Yeah, it doesn't really seem to fit. Unless he
Right.
did it like the second he let her go.
Right. Or he like already had, I don't know.
Yeah.
He had done it like within that time frame before they interrogated him in his car. So they had a picture of him. Lisa was able to pick Long out in a lineup of photos. Long was arrested on November 16th for the rape and kidnapping of Lisa McVeigh, which Long confessed to almost immediately.
Okay, that's a
Mean,
bit weird.
yeah. They said that he was, before they interrogated him, they had talked to the FBI who had done like a psychoanalysis of what type of person he might be, and
Yeah,
they
yeah.
told the investigators to talk to him like they were very confident about the information they had on him, and just kind
Yeah.
of like be more of like a fan of like, oh, then you did this and then you did this, and then he would confess to it. But if they didn't
Wow.
show that they had proof, then he wouldn't confess to it, basically.
So interesting. That's like the
Like
uh
Mindhunters.
yes, that's the one. But I'm trying to
Yeah.
think of like the real like Michael Douglas, that's the guy.
Right.
Yeah, he does like the profiles, criminal profile of someone.
I love Mindhunters, that show. I want them. I feel like
Oh
this
my God,
should be
come
in an
back
episode.
now.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
I need you.
Just keep making it. Just chuck them out. Like just keep going every day. Keep working.
Yeah.
Make
Obviously,
it.
at the end as well, there was like BTK, wasn't there? Like really obviously. Well,
Yeah.
I say obviously, like if you're a fucking if you ingest true crime at the rate that we
You
do, and
know.
probably people that listen to this podcast do,
Right.
then like yeah, you're like that. Weird guy in Kansas, Wichita, got weird cutouts of people fiddling with a rope. It's BTK. Like,
Yeah. On his computer, keeping like little trophies, drawing
oh,
pictures.
that
We
show
know.
is so good.
I know. Sponsored by Mindhunters.
I wish.
Meanwhile, police began searching Long's home and his cars. A sample of the carpet was removed from his car, and the FBI fiber expert was immediately flown with this sample to compare it to those found on the victims and on Long himself. So it wasn't just on Lisa and the victims. Bobby Long also had red fibers on his own person.
How shit is your carpet? You're like rolling around on it.
I
Like,
know.
what the fuck?
I guess if you're driving around it, like it would be on your shoes, it would be if you're in your car
It,
every day.
I mean, Jesus, like, are you driving around with like fucking animal from the Muppets like on the bottom of your car? What are you doing?
Who knows? You're an
Whatever, Bobby
idiot.
J. Long, fucking idiot. I've had 2 drinks, so I'm just like, no, you're in the wrong.
A short time later, the agent telephoned the HCSO. I'll probably cut that out because I don't remember what the HCSO is.
Who cares?
Yeah. So a short time later, the FBI confirmed that the fibers from Long's vehicles matched the red carpet fibers found previously on the victims. Long continued to deny committing the murders until the fibers were matched. The interviewing detectives explained the physical evidence to him. They told him that the same fiber match was on each of the victims, so he couldn't really get out of it.
They're allowed to lie as well.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know if he knew that, but like, you
right.
can just be like, every single one, we've matched it. Like, don't even bother doing the work. Like,
Yeah. He said, I think I might need an attorney.
nah,
And
you don't
then
need that.
rather, well, that's kind of what the cops did. They said, rather than end the interrogation there as required by law, the police urged Long to be honest because they already had a case against him through the physical evidence. Long said, well, I guess you got me good. Yes, I killed them. All the ones in the paper. I did them all.
Well, I bet they were rubbing their hands together.
Yeah. He was asked to describe each case, and he complied with the details. He realized that he set himself up for when he had not killed Lisa McVeigh, as he had done with the others. I knew when I let her go, he said, that it was only a matter of time. I didn't even tell her not to talk to the police or anything. I just didn't care anymore. I wanted to stop. I was sick inside. So I guess maybe he reached a point where he wasn't justifying what he was doing anymore, and he knew that he couldn't stop.
I mean, some murderers, like, as soon as they're caught, just confess. Fred West, he just confessed. I'm trying to think of some others. BTK just confessed, didn't he? Because he knew that the information against him
Right.
was there. He was just like, yep, that's me. Yorkshire Ripper
it's
also
so
did.
stupid. Right. I hate when people don't, because it's just like, clearly it was you. What is the point of keeping it secret?
Well,
You
it's
know?
like Ted Bundy was just, I want my day in court, wasn't he? He was
Yeah.
like, I want to
Yeah.
stand up and show off in front of everyone and, maintain my, I don't know, veneer of decency.
He just wanted to be in control of everything.
Yeah.
So Long gave a brief description of each homicide. In each case, he talked the victims into his vehicle, immediately gaining control of them with a knife and a gun. He then bound them and took them to various areas where he sexually assaulted and then murdered them. He also gave the cops a map to show where one of the victims' bodies was. His confession, when transcribed, ran 45 pages long. The interrogation also attributed his connection to numerous rapes that were connected to the classified ad rapes.
Loads of them must have not reported it.
I think so.
Or did they? But, like, maybe there was even more that they didn't know about.
I think that he just did it so much in such a short span of time that they just stacked up, and then he stopped and he moved to Tampa. So
yeah,
they were reported, I'm sure, but then it was too late. He was already gone.
yeah.
It was decided that the first case that would be tried in Hillsborough County would be the Michelle Sims case. She was the ex-beauty queen and also a sex worker. This case was picked due to the brutal nature in which she had been killed and the fact that it contained the strongest forensic evidence. The second case to be tried would be the Karen Dinsfriend case. Long pled guilty on September 24th, 1985, to all of these crimes, receiving 26 life sentences and 7 life sentences.
Wow.
In addition, the state retained the option to seek the death penalty for the murder of Michelle Sims. In July of 1986, the penalty phase of the Michelle Sims trial was held in Tampa. It lasted for 1 week and received great media attention. He also gave a news interview at that time.
What did he say in that? Does he come off? How does he come off?
I don't know if this was before or after he was sentenced to death, but he was just kind of saying, I don't know why I did these things. So I think that his lawyers really tried to push the fact that he had a bunch of head injuries and just a weird childhood, and that affected how he grew up.
Yeah.
And kind of said that he was insane. So maybe his attorneys convinced him to go on the news and say, like, I don't know why I did this.
To sound mad.
In an effort to say,
yeah,
exactly.
There are loads of people who smack their head and their mum shags people next to them and they hate their mum, but they still don't murder people. Like, it really is the exception rather than the rule.
Right. That's exactly what I told Will when we were watching I'll Be Gone in the Dark, and Will doesn't know anything about the Golden State Killer, so I'm like, oh, I can tell you everything.
Oh, that must be nice.
I know. And so I was like, he was in the police.
You're like, get ready to be bored.
Yeah. It's like I have to like feed it in little snippets as well, because I can't like overload him. Otherwise he'll be like, yeah, okay, bye.
Yeah, oh god, I've had enough.
But he was like arguing like if he had a bad childhood or that affected him, and he is an insane person for wanting to do this. I just said what you just said, which is like, there are lots of insane people. There are lots of people who were cops or people who went off to war or people who had PTSD. They don't murder people.
No.
They don't continuously murder people.
Absolutely not.
Some people even go on and thrive and become really amazing people.
Yeah.
So,
like my mum, like she had a fucking shit childhood and she's one of the best people like I know, and like loads of people were like, God, your mum's nice. I'm like, yeah, I know.
right.
Like Yeah, her childhood was a piece of shit, like awful, from
Yeah,
the age of 5 until
exactly.
16. So,
Speaking of, also Lisa McVeigh, the 17-year-old rape victim of
yeah,
Bobby Long.
yeah, she wasn't
Um,
fucking picking up Bobby Long and tying him up and raping him.
yeah. So the trial lasted 1 week and received great media attention. Lisa also gave a powerful testimony against Long. Long was found guilty and was sentenced to die in Florida's electric chair.
Wow, the electric chair. That's also not my first choice on the list of executions. Like,
I think, let me just read this last little bit and we'll talk
sorry.
about that.
Yes.
So, after 34 years on death row, Long was executed by lethal injection on May 23rd, 2019, so last year,
Wow. I didn't
at a
hear about
Florida state
that.
prison.
Florida,
Yeah, I
Florida
know.
love a death penalty as well, don't they?
They do. Lisa McVeigh, now married, and she was also a sheriff working in law
Yes.
enforcement. She sat in the front row of his execution. And that
Oh,
is the story of Bobby Joe Long.
that was brilliant. His name rings a bell, but it's just quite a. Who's the lead singer of Green Day? Billy Joe Bob.
Billy Joe Armstrong.
Right.
Why do we keep bringing up Green
I
Day
don't
every
know.
episode?
That should be on our bingo card if you bring up Green Day.
Yeah. I think so. It took 34 years for him to go through with the death penalty. So I think that his attorneys still tried to fight the fact that he was insane. And also, he was sentenced to death in the electric chair. But I think in those 34 years,
Well, that's a
the
long time.
electric chair was, yeah, I think the electric chair was taken off the
Deemed,
table.
I think it's deemed cruel and unusual punishment, isn't it? That's like the phrase.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm guessing that's what happened.
Well, Ted Bundy got the electric chair, and I mean, I'm not saying that like I do have the thought in my head that it might not be genuinely real, but like I went to the Museum of Death in California near you with
Yeah,
Ruth, my friend Ruth, and
yeah.
we saw the jumpsuit that he was supposedly executed in, and
Oh,
the leg was all burnt.
oh.
Apparently, he set on fire a bit at the end.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard that that's what happens to some people in the electric chair.
Well, we've all seen the Green Mile.
Right.
I mean, I don't know where you're getting your facts from. That's where I'm
Yeah.
getting them from. Yeah, so I think the options for there's been a death penalty heavy one, hasn't it? But
Yeah.
the options are gas chamber, firing squad, hanging, lethal injection. If you're in
Electric
France,
chair.
the guillotine, electric chair. Yeah. Which one would you have? You've got a choice, Rach.
I'd probably do lethal injection.
I'm kind of tempted for the guillotine.
Honestly, if I were like convicted and I didn't do anything, give me the firing squad because I want to look at the people who, although
I
I
think
think
they
you're
blindfold you.
blindfolded.
Yeah. Sorry,
But
you're.
still, like I would want to like stand up straight and be like, I'm taking this,
Can I
you
give him
know?
the finger while I'm being shot?
Yeah, exactly.
So apparently, with a firing
But I would
squad,
also probably shit myself. I think like taking an
yeah,
injection is the least shit myself scenario.
like you don't want to go out without any dignity.
Right, exactly.
With a firing squad, apparently they have because it's like a really not popular, but like it's a common
Yeah,
way in the army, or if you're like a prisoner of war, or like you are
right.
executed as like a prisoner of a military thing, like the Nazis did it a lot with
Yeah,
their with people who were traitors and stuff. What they
right.
do is they bind your hands behind your back and they put a blindfold on you, and then the people
Mhm.
that's shooting you, they have about five, and then I think one of them has a live round and all the rest of them have blanks,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
completely randomized, so you don't know who shot the shot that killed you.
Right.
Well, it's more for their benefit rather
Yeah.
than yours because you're dead.
Right.
But
Exactly. Yeah. So is that what you would choose?
yeah, because they shoot you right in the heart, and
Right.
I think I'd rather have a bit of a pain in my chest and then pass out than have hanging, like could go wrong. Also, you're absolutely shitting yourself before it happens.
Yeah.
Um,
You're guaranteed to shit yourself.
oh, 100% those bowels are being evacuated. And then
Yeah.
and then it is like code brown. And then on the lethal injection, it depends where you are, but like sometimes they give you drugs to supposedly like sedate you, the people that have argued that it's really inhumane are people that say
Right.
that those drugs, they paralyze you. They don't
Yeah.
actually numb you or sedate you. So you feel yourself like not being able to breathe, but you can't
Right.
move. That's supposedly what happens. And that was the argument for them stopping lethal injections.
I read a really interesting article a couple of years ago about how America, a lot of different states were getting their lethal injection like concoction
Yeah.
from, I think, France and another country.
Hmm.
And then those countries, it was decided that the death penalty, like in maybe it was in the EU or something.
If you're part of the EU, your country cannot have the death penalty. It's part of like the agreement that you signed to be in the EU, but you can't
Yeah,
have any human rights abuses. You can't. That's
right.
why Turkey was had a lot of trouble trying to join the EU because they have like a really high Muslim population, and some of the Sharia law that they had there was against human rights. They had to basically say, we're not going to do that anymore.
The states were getting their concoctions from EU countries, and then so that when those countries stopped making them, then the states that had the death penalty had to start finding an alternative. And there was this huge thing where they were getting knockoff concoctions and it was
Ugh.
causing a ton of pain in the people. And in one incident the guy didn't even die. He
Oh.
was like able to describe what he was feeling. And so that's just been like one issue with the death penalty here is like more countries in the world aren't doing it anymore. So America has had to like find alternative ways that have just been kind of sketchy.
It's so crazy that
It is crazy.
like, okay, sometimes when you hear stories like Bobby Lee Long, and so this is always my argument for the death penalty, right? There's a case where a guy kidnapped a little girl, he raped her, she was 9, and then he buried her alive in a bin bag. And they knew that she was
Mm.
alive because she'd like scratched the sides of the bin bag. And he
Mm.
knew she was buried alive. Isn't that one of the
Yeah.
worst things you've ever fucking heard? And if that happened to your
Yeah.
9-year-old child, you would maul that man to death with your bare hands.
Right.
So
Yeah.
he got the death penalty, and it's fucking hard to argue against that.
Yeah.
Obviously, I live in a country where there is no death penalty, and there's lots of people who also probably vote for very right wing parties that are like, bring hanging
Yeah.
back. It's like, it's never going to happen. So
Right.
we're not going backwards.
No.
Get over it. But yeah, when you hear
Yeah.
something like that, it's very fucking hard to. And Chris Watts,
Yep.
Chris Watts'
Exactly.
wife's family said we don't want him to get the death penalty, but who could blame them if they said yeah?
I know. It's also like the country and the world is more accepting of mental health issues as well now. So maybe the death penalty will start to change because, like with Bobby Long, he had head injuries that probably caused him to do these things because he couldn't explain why he was doing them.
Also, I'd like to
So,
know what his IQ was,
yeah, I don't know.
because executing somebody with an IQ below like 70
Yeah,
isn't cool. Yeah, whereas Ted Bundy, IQ was like 140 or whatever, like very clever man.
he knew.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. There's no argument there. But do you think there'll be a
Yeah.
day when
So
there is no more death penalty in America?
I don't think in our lives,
No, me
in our
neither.
lifetime.
You fucking love it.
I don't personally, but yeah, there are a lot of, right wing people who are pro guns and pro death penalty and pro this and pro that.
Very
So
old Bible. It's quite kind of Bible related, isn't it? I think in a way.
uh
Like
somewhat,
I
I
feel like
think.
people might use the Bible like in terms of defending it sometimes.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Is there a case in your head where you're like, yeah, they deserve the death penalty? Or is it like, nope, I just don't believe in it?
No, I agree with you. In specific circumstances, especially when it's related to children
Yeah.
who have no control over the situation, and you know something involved with a child is wrong. Like no matter how low your IQ is,
Yeah.
you still know.
Yeah.
So anything involved with a child, I think,
It's hard,
the
isn't it?
worse the crime is. Yeah.
It's hard to argue against it in those cases. Even though we don't have kids, like I can still see how fucking defenseless they are
Yeah.
and how
Yeah.
evil you'd have to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have like 8 younger siblings,
Oh
so
yeah, that's true. I am the youngest,
I
so I'm
was
like, I forgot
exactly.
the other
So
siblings even existed then. I'm joking.
I know, and like I was a bully to them when I was a kid. Obviously now I feel horrible about it,
Yeah, but
but
you can
like
hate them and hit them, and no one else can. That's your job.
yeah, but it was like I was also a kid, so I had anxieties and things that I didn't know how to deal with that I was taking out on them. When you're an adult, that's different, you know?
Easy pickings.
So yeah, plus sometimes they were brats, so
Yeah, I'm sure I was too, definitely.
yeah.
Okay, well, Rach, I have to go. It's Friday night here. I'm having a cider, and I'm going to go
Mhm.
to Vince's house and probably bore him with some Golden State Killer stuff because he didn't know about that either.
Yes, find the documentary. I hope that you can find
Oh my
it.
God, I can't wait. I
Um
cannot wait.
Speaking of documentaries, I just wanted to mention my short documentary is in a contest right now.
Yes! Oh my God.
Um
If anyone's still
if
listening, then
yeah,
we
exactly.
we banged
Thank
on
you
like we
for
don't
listening this far.
we banged on like we don't have an audience. Whatever.
Right.
It's my time too.
Yeah, we can talk however we want. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks. No, please stay. Um, please.
I have a short documentary. If anyone's listening and wants to check it out, I would love if you voted for it. You can also vote every day.
Oh my God, I've only voted once, but I'll do it again.
Yeah, keep doing it every day for a month.
I'll make Vince do it as well. Get his phone.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So it's up
But
on the
yeah, it's in my
socials.
yes, exactly. It's called All Ears. You can find it on the Music Bed website. And yeah, thanks for watching it too, Talissa.
I sent it to my family and they loved it.
Aw,
And
thanks.
Vince shared it on Facebook as well for you. It's amazing.
Thanks.
It is beautiful and amazing, and you should definitely watch it. Brought tears to my eye.
It's only 4 minutes long too, so it's not like a
A lot
huge
shorter than this.
chunk of your day. Yes. All right.
Okay.
Cool.
Yes.
Thanks for listening.
Genuinely, thank you, and bye.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to Transatlantic Crime this week. If you liked what you heard, please rate, review, and subscribe.
And if you'd like to follow us on social media, you can find us on Twitter at TransatCrimePod, Instagram at Transatlantic Crime, and on Facebook with Transatlantic Crime Podcast.
Thanks, bye.